BPM.
BPM.
Radio Show.
House music.
So nice to welcome you here.
Thank you very much.
Basically, here in France. And okay, so when did you start? When did you start DJing? What's your story about this?
Quite a while ago. Actually, I started by getting super interested in playing guitar and got a guitar then, and then I wanted to learn more about music production. So I was working in a supermarket to buy my first sampler. Back then it was an MPC 2000.
Yeah.
And I started because back then there was no laptops and software and stuff like that. It's really quite a while ago.
What year was it?
Whoa.
About 2000 and...
Yeah, 2000 something. No,
you were like 20 or something or so?
Yeah, earlier.
Oh yeah.
Earlier. It was I think it was in the late 90s. So, yes. I started with 14. Yeah, now it's quite a while.
So you bought your AK MPC?
Yeah, and this is where basically I started making music, and I started jamming on it. I was making electronic music, hip-hop beats, everything. And then a friend of mine was working in a record store, and he introduced me more and more into electronic music. And I got totally attached to it, and yeah, I loved it. And then I started
So what's the first artist or the first DJ you remember you really got into?
There's so many, but I think for me, making electronic music, I think it was the first album of Daft Punk, because there was the perfect mixture of sampling and
powerful production.
Exactly. And not too much, because it was very minimalistic, maybe 8 tracks or something, but they sampled a lot. So this is yes, amazing.
If you listen to it today, it still sounds like it was
up to date.
It was
yes,
produced
yes.
in 2017.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's fucking awesome. Yes.
That's one of the best record ever. We have to say it.
So and then from then on I continued making music, and after finishing school, I wanted to study audio engineering officially on a university, and this was the reason why I moved to Berlin, because you could only do it in 2 cities, in Berlin and one in West Germany, close to Cologne. But close to Cologne was not so interesting for me, so
yeah.
I decided to move to Berlin. But never studied.
Yeah, never studied there.
No.
Yeah, it was the perfect place to party and meet people and make music and listen to music too. I guess.
I actually didn't know anybody there back then, but I really wanted to become a producer. So the main goal was make a living from music. That was my main goal. And of course I was DJing and everything, but I couldn't actually imagine becoming an international DJ, traveling all over the world, because it was so unbelievable far away from
where you are now.
Exactly,
actually.
yeah. So and then I was hanging out in Berlin, didn't know anybody, missed the test to get to the university because I was not good enough.
What studies did you want to go into?
Audio engineering.
Audio engineering. Yeah. Okay, so it's still in the music field.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. And you had to play because I was playing quite good guitar, and so but you had to have a second instrument and everything. So, it was pretty hard to get in. Actually, maybe it was not that hard, but I was not well prepared enough.
Yeah.
So, but then I didn't want to move back to my parents' place, and I said, okay, I have to do something. So I was looking for a studio in Berlin, and I basically went to 5 studios just by ringing bell and asked if they need an intern or something.
Okay.
5 turned me away, and the 6th one,
we need someone.
No, it was not like this. He said, "What are you doing right now?" And I said, "Nothing. Yeah, you can stay." So that was the first thing. They wanted to see how much engagement you bring in, and how you're interested in everything,
how much you could adapt.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so it was 2 in the afternoon or something. I left the studio by 4 a.m. And then he said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "Nothing." And then he said, "Okay, be here by 9. It was 4. Be here by 9. So he wants to check it again.
4 hours sleep.
Exactly. If I make it being on time on 9, I was there after 3 hours because actually I didn't sleep anyway, because I was so super stoked to be back tomorrow. And then, I was there 9. It was the same procedure again, a really late production. And then, cool. It was a Friday. You can come on Monday. Be there. I say, wow. Yeah.
What kind of music did they play in this studio?
Oh,
Was it like a rock studio or whatever?
Yes,
Electronic?
all of they have a huge client list, like really, and I was working with, actually in Germany, like with some major pop acts back then. So, but it was not that interesting. It was interesting to learn but it was, music was not where my biggest attention was, like, because I was always into electronic music, and that was the cool thing. After the studio closed, I always could use the studio and make my own music there.
So you learned all the basics,
basically,
how to produce sound,
cooking coffee,
absolutely,
fixing cables,
waiting, because I guess that when you're in the studio you need to wait for hours and hours, you know, for the artist to record the right sample.
Exactly.
The right sound.
It's like patience, I would say. Make it in the music business. Patience is the biggest thing you need. It is just patience.
You know, we were a bit late, and we've just seen that you were really patient because you waited for us for 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
Congratulations, Sante.
Exactly.
House music.
Right. So that was this studio thing. How long did it last?
6 years.
For 6 years in this studio. So basically, you knew the studio by heart.
Yes, and I learned. I met a lot of people there, like especially also like in the electronic business, and this is where everything started for me then, because I met Tief Schwarz through them, and I was working with them for a long time.
I've seen that on your biography.
Yeah, I was working.
Tief Schwarz were really famous and popular here in France.
Yeah.
That was in the early 2000s.
Exactly,
right?
they have been popular all over the world. So, and it was a really cool entrance for me. So they showed me how it could be done, like being like a professional DJ worldwide. So
all the tips and
yeah,
the
everything.
tricks.
And then I had the chance to go on tour with them and be the warm-up DJs and start traveling, and got really like into, wow, okay, this is definitely what I always wanted to be, but couldn't dream. It was like,
That's a dream life.
exactly. So, and then after a while, yeah, I really focused on my own production. So because working with others, it takes a lot of time, and being in the studio is like, it takes a lot of energy, and you need a lot of creativity to develop your skills as well. And yeah, then I said, okay, I can't do it anymore. I want to concentrate on my own music.
So, when did you start collaborating with Tief Schwarz, and what year did you really start working on your own project?
It was, if I'm right, yeah, 2008. I started with them,
So
working with
that's
them.
10 years ago, right?
Yeah,
So,
maybe a bit earlier already. I'm not sure, but by 2008 was my first release ever, and it was on Radio Slave's label, Rekids. Yeah, and from then on, I continually like releasing on Souvenir, Cocoon back then, and I was growing and growing. But yeah, that was quite a while ago already now.
So would you say that you, well, basically you're telling me that your first release was on Radio Slave's label, right? And you also released on Cocoon. So would you say it's thanks to your collaboration and your friendship with Tief Schwarz that you had this opportunity to start on big labels like that, or only by your own genius? I'm being a bit ironic. Like,
No, of course.
On purpose, right?
I never thought about it, but no, they didn't send it to the other guys, so I did it by myself. But maybe through some travel experience and coincidences by traveling on, meeting somebody on the airport, through them, of course, connection happened. And when you have the right track and send it to the right person, it works.
Definitely.
Yeah. So this is how everything started.
So now, today, if it happens, like if I come to your studio in Lisboa, right? What gear, what setup would I find?
Nothing, because there's no studio yet.
Okay, so where's all your gear? Was it
It's still saved and stored in Berlin.
in Berlin?
Yeah, but it's coming by in the next, hopefully, 3 months.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what do you work with? What's your favorite instrument to work with? Do you work with Avotre, or I don't know, any
Like, of
software?
course, I have a laptop with Ableton and Logic on it, and I make basically all the ideas on it, like with it, and then I change like all the stuff. Maybe if I do using analog stuff or synthesizers, and I have the opportunity to use them I change them because I like working with analog stuff. But for me, it's not necessarily needed that you have analog gear. You can make brilliant music just actually nowadays on your iPhone if you have the skills to. So I always adapt around that. For me, it's just I want to make music, and it's not the matter if it's the biggest studio. It can be even only a laptop. So
if the sound is right,
yeah,
sound is right.
And if you know, I think have to know what you want to do, and your ideas needs to be on point.
So you're basically today one of the biggest flagship, or how would I say that? You're one of the best tech house producers today. How come you came to tech house? Was it a progressive process, or did you start by playing house, or more dark stuff? I don't know.
No, this is like, I always liked it groovier than the proper techno, and I always liked it a bit less melody like the proper house. So there was like only this little niche in between which fitted for me perfect. And yeah, I was always into grooves, and this was I think I always wanted also to play drums, but I wasn't allowed because we were living in a flat, and my parents didn't like it. So
I know what you're talking about. I'm a drummer too,
okay.
So I know it's a big deal for the parents.
Exactly.
You know? You're not telling them I want to play the guitar. I want to play the drums. I'm going to ruin your living room, basically.
Yes. So, I think this is because of both. I like both worlds. I like techno and I like house, but I think for me personally, the best thing to produce is the middle way, like the tech house thing, because you have both. You have the energy from the techno and some groovy parts from the house, and combine it.
What's your favorite nightclub?
It's also very difficult because
as a listener,
I think it always depends on the mood, on especially on the DJ who's playing. But
or maybe you don't like going to clubs.
I love going to clubs. So because I'm always traveling the weekends, I'm not able to go by myself so much anymore. And of course, on a Monday and Tuesday, I don't want to go to a club because after a long weekend,
just knackered.
Yeah, but for example, I've been to Lux last week ago, and there was Loco Dice playing, and I really enjoyed it by being on the dance floor again. So, but no, there's so many good clubs in the world, and I think it always depends on your own mood, on the size of the venue, and what you want to hear, or what kind of DJ you're expecting to hear. But sound-wise, there's so many great audio engineers around the world. But I think for me as a clubber, now you got me back, I think it's DC-10 for me.
Where Loco Dice played as well for many years.
Yes, right? Circo Loco is for me, this is like really inspiration.
Like the energy,
yes,
the vibe, sound.
I like that the focus is just on the music. There's not so much lights, nothing, no disturb, just music and the dance floor, and I think most of the people in the crowd are really into the music, so there's an educated crowd, which leads always to that the DJ can try something completely different and freak completely out, and
they will like it.
Exactly, and be more can be more experimental with some tunes and stuff.
Excellent. And as a DJ, maybe the club where you played and when you had the best vibes, the best feeling, you would say.
I had also because last year I played the first time in DC-10, and it was an amazing.
You played in DC-10?
Yeah, last year. Okay. It was an amazing experience, but I think it also depends a bit on the countries you're in. But I can say one of the amazing nights I had always in Argentina.
Really?
Absolutely mind-blowing.
Sidney Charles' girlfriend comes from Argentina.
Yes.
Am I right? So you've got something special, you German guys with Argentina or South America.
I don't know what's going on there. But I think Argentina is really incredible.
Okay, I've never been there.
Yeah, it's worth a travel.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, just a small little question about Sydney and you. Because he told us that you knew each other quite well, and on the radio show like last Tuesday we played a track from you. C'est quoi le nom de la track de Sante qu'on a joué? With a remix from Sidney Charles. But Sidney Charles remixing you. What's the name of the track? The drums? No, what is it?
Sick drummer.
Sick drummer.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a bit more first about your friendship or collaboration with Sydney Charles, how you met each other, and about this track in particular, which is really, really good.
We met each other, I think now 6 years ago or something. Quite a while now. Yeah, so it must be six or almost 7. A friend of mine asked me, it was Martin Ira from Kling Klong. He asked me, he had this record from a talented guy called Sydney Charles and played it to me and asked me, do you want to remix it? And I say, yeah, play it to me. I think it was Sydney's first release also. Yeah, it was his first release.
That was Groove Move or something like that? No, maybe.
No, it was called Big Bada Boom.
Big Bada Boom.
Yes.
We're gonna find like this one.
Yeah, find it. And it was, I think, his first release ever. And yeah, I remixed it. And then from then on we start talking. He was living in Hamburg back then, and I'm in Berlin. And then I said, yeah, come over whenever you move to Berlin, just let me know. And then actually, I think 4 months later, he moved to Berlin, and we became almost neighbors. So he was just living across the other street, and yeah, we really got good friends. Yeah. And then we shared a studio in Berlin, and of course he's working in the label a lot, and we started Avotre, and then this is like it. We developed a really cool friendship.
Okay, so you just said that you developed the Avotre. I'm going to pronounce it in French, right?
Of course.
Avotre.
Of course.
Label. So is it collaboration? Was it your label, or did you?
I founded it, but Sydney is there from the beginning, and he's doing a lot of A&Ring, and he's part it is also his label. It could be his label. He's part of it from the beginning.
Okay, so definitely he's part of it.
Yeah.
And okay, so because I'm French, because we're French, we got the pun, right? We got the Avotre Santé.
Of course.
Right? But how did it get to your mind? How did you get the idea?
Okay.
Santé, what?
Sante was I think, how did it come to mind?
It's a kind of a tribute to France in a way, right?
In a way, yes. It was by cheering, let's say cheers, and I think because the real DJ, the real name was not that interesting, and I liked it a lot. And then of course when I started the label, I thought it would be the real consequence to call it Avotre Santé, because cool. what other words should I use for the label if it's that connected? So
what are your projects now? What are you working on?
Right now, we just signed for the label. I really like the thing that we have in DJ Pierre from Future.
Oh, yeah.
We signed him and got the chance to make a remix package, which the first is already out. It was Ricardo Villalobos, Marco Ferrone, and myself, which I was pretty happy about it, to have those legends on the label.
You are.
Yes, and then the next one is Sebuka.
I love him.
Me too. Toby Neumann and Sydney for the next remixes. And there's an Italian. Afterwards, there's an Italian guy coming, a really talented producer called Luca Donzelli.
Okay, don't know him, but it sounds good.
He's really talented. Living in Ibiza. Is also resident in Amnesia. So. Really cool guy, and of course an EP from Sydney, from myself, including a remix from our friend Matthias Kahn.
Yeah.
So this is until summer. What is planned until summer?
So you're releasing a lot, right?
Not too much, I think.
So average in a year, how many tracks do you release?
10.
10. So that's one a month, basically.
Every 6 weeks. So.
Every 6
so
weeks.
Something.
Oh, that's really
maybe
accurate.
Yes, this is it. It's not too less, not too much. It's on point. I don't want to go to more than 10. This is maximum.
Okay, so 6 weeks. Is it the real time you need to make a track, or do you make multiple tracks at the same time and then release them progressively every 6 weeks? Which just depends on the creativity.
I'm not doing that much records anyway, so releases in.
Well, I mean tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes a track can be ready in 2 hours, and sometimes it takes forever, and it will be not finished at all. So
do you have one of these tracks that you can't finish somewhere in your laptop?
300 of them
remaining in the hard drive.
Remaining, and maybe sometimes it's really cool to leave them and then open those projects. Even years ago, later, and then you see, okay, this is a pretty cool idea. Maybe I take this part and that part and come to something else and create something new.
What do you think of your work back then, 10 years ago? I asked the same question to Sydney, and he told me, I was just, it doesn't really like what he was doing at first, you know. So, that sounds just shit sometimes.
I would not say that I don't like it, but I think as an artist, there's nothing more boring than always being in a cycle and doing the same thing. So, and by being in the studio, you're developing everyday new skills. So, and with those new skills, you're able to develop new ideas and make some maybe different music, which you have been not able 10 years ago. So,
True.
I think it's a never-ending story being an artist. So, maybe people liked it more or the other like it more, but it is all about you. If you like it and feel it, it's perfect and right. And if you don't, delete it.
Do you see yourself still being a DJ in, let's say, when you're 50 or 55 years old? We were talking about Craig Richards, right?
Yes.
He's 51 now. Do you see yourself 51 years old still DJing?
I think yeah. Age doesn't matter unless you're healthy for sure, and you have still a good mind. So this is like really important. If these are the facts, of course, but then I would be.
Age doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter unless, look for example, Sven Väth, Carl Cox, your legend here, Laurent Garnier.
Laurent Garnier, yeah, he's a dad. We say he's a dad.
Okay, yeah. But he's like almost 60, isn't he? So.
Oh, Laurent.
50 something, 50, whatever.
60 is a bit old for him. I would say 50.
Yeah, but then all those legends, they're still doing it, and they're doing it much better than some young new talented DJs. So
getting more and more famous every day.
Of course, which they deserve it, because they lead it to what it is right now. Because without them, it wouldn't be that much fun.
When DJs are your age, I think you're considered, you're being seen as a DJ and a producer. When you're 50, 60, you've got this kind of experience, and people see you sometimes like for Laurent Garnier as a legend, but as someone with very important experience and just, you know, like someone who can teach.
Exactly, and you can read the crowd and teach the crowd, and I think maybe if you reach that point like this legend status, you are even able to play much better than before, because people are appreciating everything you do, and you're like you're blessed somehow, because even you can go up and down and play sometimes and surprise people. You can do it also. I do it sometimes. But it has to be the right moment to try something which you never tried before, and it can fail completely or it can go completely crazy.
Yeah, but there's a difference, because when you're a young DJ, when you fail, people see it as a failure.
Exactly.
But when you're a big DJ, when you fail, they say, oh, maybe it's something I don't understand because this guy is a legend. You know what I mean?
Exactly. This is that. But you have to earn your status, unless this is how you do it.
Absolutely.
It's like in every job in this world. So, everything needs time to grow, and especially with those artist skills.
So you were talking about difficult crowds to read sometimes. What's the worst experience you had in the club? Like the complete fail, you know? Like, it couldn't work. Maybe it happened or didn't happen to you.
It didn't happen music-wise, but the worst fail I ever had was not by DJ. It was in my hand. A glass broke in my hand and cut me through my hand, and I blacked out.
During your DJ set?
Yes, it was in Brazil.
Oh man.
A couple of years ago. Yeah, and it cut me like pretty bad. Like maybe you see the scar here still. Like it goes through the whole hand, and I blacked out and woke up in a really dodgy hospital.
So who played after you then?
I don't know.
They just stopped the show, right?
Maybe the rest of the, I don't know. It was mostly by the end of the set, but it was like freaking horrible.
Oh man. Okay, that was a big fail.
Yeah.
Respect on this one. You did it.
Yes.
You did it. Talk about your leisure and stuff. What do you do in Lisboa when you're not DJing or producing?
Surfing.
Oh, you surfed?
Yeah.
Oh man, everyone surfs. Like, it's incredible. So you surf.
And enjoying the beaches and like it's what I really like in Lisbon is like you have this old center, like really historical houses, but of course it's more touristy, but you go there through it, and when you visit it the first time, it will be really beautiful. But then you have, like, on the other hand, you drive by car 15 minutes and you're in the most beautiful countryside ever, and have like amazing landscapes, beaches and everything. And this is really a cool thing between traveling, being like this touring DJ in the studio, and having some time in nature and clear your mind because if you're going surfing, for example, you leave your cell phone at home. I don't care about if any manager or whatever calls. Going for 2 or 3 hours,
just
and then,
on your own,
and it's clear your mind completely.
Breathing out,
and you always have to deal with the struggle of the waves then, of course.
Yeah, but when you play techno, when you play tech house, when you play house, it's all about the vibes and the waves.
Yes,
so.
exactly.
Okay, pretty.
And it really clears your whole mindset again.
So now, do you rent something there, or are you?
Yes, I rent.
Do you own your house? Or you
No,
just
I
rent
don't.
there?
I think it's just my opinion. Of course, it's cool for if you have property and maybe for the future, for retirement and so. But I think renting is more my thing, because I don't know. The next step after Lisbon for me is Los Angeles.
Oh, you want to move to the States?
Yes, but it has time.
Okay, tell me why.
Not to the States, particularly Los Angeles.
Particularly Los Angeles.
Yes.
Because of the weather, or because
not because there's so much smoke. Because of, like, I think then I want to go back somehow because I was doing that in the studio a lot. I was writing a lot of music for the films.
Okay.
Yeah, in this studio where I worked. And
for films?
Yes, I did 7 or 8 movies.
But like, what kind of movies? Like
TV movies for German television.
TV movies. Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So you work on cinematic orchestrations and stuff, which is something I'm sure you know, because you've been working 6 years in a production thing. So you know all the gear, the tools, and the sounds. But maybe not really what you're doing right now in the tech house field. So how come you came to? Was it an offer that someone gave you, like, oh, we would like your sounds in our TV show? Or?
No, it was in the studio. I met this director there, and he liked always what I'm doing, and he was then offered me, then let's give it a try, and then we worked a couple of movies together.
So it's would you say it's a completely different work?
It is completely different.
Approach?
Yes, completely. You have to know music. That's like not that easy to do. You have to have music skills in composition, otherwise it doesn't work.
Did you like it?
I love it. It's a completely different thing, but I want to be able to be not working like for somebody. I would like to work with somebody, because always if you be a composer, you always work for a director, and unless you
are Hans Zimmer or,
and even he does, but he has the power to say something. But
I would say John Williams. Yeah, John Williams works with.
Yes. Of
George
course.
Lucas,
of
right?
course.
Because every scene is perfectly matching, right? So you would like to work with a director,
and being able to fill a gap which is not that much recognized in the film business, like approaching it a bit different, remixing stuff and bringing all my
remixing skills.
Yes, my skills, and having a completely different perspective on the writing perspective. Because if you write for film music, you have to write a score, and then you go to the orchestra, and they play it, and you record it, and you take this material back to the studio.
Okay.
And I would approach it a bit different.
So tell me more about it. I'm very interested.
I don't want to take my secrets to the camera.
Okay, nice. But generally, like, no, I mean, you said, even if it's not on the camera, we're musicians, so I feel very interested with this.
Yeah, this is like
so what do you mean by remixing?
Yeah, create something new. I like create. No, maybe it's like, because I always in my house music tracks, you always hear the 909, which is super unique and it's kind of a signature. But I really do like creating new sounds, like on my own. And I'm not using that so much in my tracks, but I have this other thing, like unheard sounds. This is amazing.
Do you record a lot in the...
I did back then, but I'm not doing it so much anymore, but I want to start it again. And because nowadays there's so many cool apps on iPads and stuff which lead to something completely new, and then you can sample it and play them as an instrument, which is incredible.
So Los Angeles would be for you the place where you would develop your skills as a film composer. So that's what you would like to do there?
Yeah, that's what I would like to do there, man. And surfing and enjoying the great weather.
Okay, that's great. That's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, but this has time. There's no rush for it, you know? There's just like easy. Yeah. If it's 10, 15 years, it doesn't matter. Maybe then I'm, of course, not... because I read this interesting book. I think it was from John Williams, and it said, being 40 is super young for a film composer.
Absolutely.
So
this guy is 75,
yes,
right? Yeah,
exactly. So there's a lot of time to develop and develop skills, and always, which is great, by traveling that much, you meet a lot of people, and then you have interesting conversation, and meet also directors, and then it will come to the perfect thing that I start doing it again. But I'm still super interested in it.
Have you ever played as a DJ in the US?
Yeah, many times. I'm going in 2 weeks again.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah, to Miami and Chicago.
So you know that we as Europeans, we are definitely avant-garde in the electronic scene in many ways. I mean, techno, tech house. And we know that in the US, they just love the music we produce here in Europe. So were you welcomed as a respected DJ there? Did you feel the crowd was really receptive to your sounds, or a bit like they didn't really understand everything?
It's different because most of the people, it's changing right now, but a couple of years ago it was completely different. It was more like you have this pop appeal. The more poppier and famous EDM-ish it gets, the more people are attracted to in the States. So the real clubbing was like super niche. So all the cool clubs are not bigger than 500 capacity. This is like the biggest, but then you're still really cool underground. You have this in New York, Miami, all over. But these are amazing. And then you have like those people who are really into it. But then you go to big festivals, so the crowd mixes, and then the response are not that interesting anymore. But I think it's changing right now because EDM is really finally fading out even on those big festival stations.
Eventually, finally. But you know, the US are always like the US is always good to take things from Europe and remodeling them in their own way, for the best or the worst sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I was talking about, you know, when I started DJing basically UK sounds like UK garage, dubstep. But when I mean dubstep from Benga, Scream, the people from the horsepower production and stuff. And I met this guy like 5 years ago. He was like, yeah, I love dubstep. And he was like listening to US dubstep, right? Like Skrillex and stuff. It's not really dubstep, is it? And basically, yeah, they took dubstep, they made something completely different. Like, I would say more vulgar in a way. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they're doing shit, right? But it's a bit different.
It's just the labeling.
Yeah, that's it.
You need a name for something which is created, and then maybe this fit the best. So, and actually, if you would say EDM now, of course, it turns into this kind of cliche thing. But at the end, it means just electronic dance music.
Yeah.
So we're all doing electronic dance music.
Everyone.
Yeah, so this is the only thing, just the labeling.
Yeah, I think it's a labeling for people who don't listen to electronic music.
Exactly.
It's just like, do you listen to pop or EDM? Because it's too vast for them, you know, to understand what is the difference between tech house, minimal tech, etc., etc.
Yeah, you need to be really into it to understand, and I think even myself you're always developing your taste and skills and your listening skills and everything, and then even you like something more than all the others. And the thing is with writing for movies, you have like your cues, and your this means like the time where the music comes in and the music gets out. The thing with film music, it always has to support the scene. It's not the piece music on its own. It's just to support the scene. And if there's like, if the director wants some emotion, like positive or negative emotions there, you have to write the right chords for it. And then the scene works.
Like playing minor or major.
Yeah, exactly. It
depends on whether they want something sad or happy or about emotions.
Yeah, and this is how you can do it. Like very, if you know like music theory, of course, it's pretty. It's not easy, but you definitely have to. If you write for music, your big part is you're 50% of the movie, but you're not shining because you're only helping the music to be the movie the best thing it can be.
Same thing for a drummer in a band.
Yeah,
right.
Suspense and everything. Yeah, you give the rhythm as a drummer,
but no one notices you
unless you're not the best drummer in the world.
That's it, exactly.
So Inception is a great score.
Inception is very
This by Hans Zimmer, and also The Dark Knight is a really great score.
Did you like Interstellar as well?
And Interstellar as well.
The theme is just wicked.
Yeah, the cornfield cheese.
Yeah, that's just wicked. I mean, just listen to it once. You know, that's when I think that it's a score is good or music is good. It's when you listen to it just once, and it just feels like you've been listening to this shit for hours, for years or years.
Yes.
You say, I know this by heart.
Yes. Yeah, there are so many great things, but you have to just discover those things by listening to it, without the movie.
So without the movie first? Maybe.
Without the movie first, yes.
Yeah.
And then you feel like, wow, what the heck is this? It's great.
Do you like Ennio Morricone?
He's the legend, of course.
I grew up with this CD that my dad gave to me. And that was the best of compilation, right?
Yeah. He's a super great composer.
Just impressive. All these bangers, man. All these
melodies like on point.
Impressive.
Yes. Yeah. Hi everyone, this is Sante, and you're listening to BPM Radio Show.
Wicked.
House music.